Elder, the mother of all cures. Greetings once again, fellow botanical enthusiasts. Today we take a look at a tree that is so mighty that it has the power to chase the devil away. A plant so magical that the very king and queen of the fairies revered it. And this species of tree was so ingrained in the Celtic culture and traditions of British and Scandinavian countries that the church sought to condemn it when they came to convert the people who lived there. The elder is ancient and wise, and she kept her people protected from ailments, like any loving mother would. So come along and discover how this nondescript hedge wove itself into the lives and imaginations of the people that relied heavily on its curative properties. The Sambucus nigra, more commonly known as the elder tree, can almost be called a shrub instead of a tree. Its branches grow outward like a bush, and it rarely grows higher than 7 meters tall. It has dainty clusters of blossoms during spring and summer that turn into deep purple berries in autumn. Its flowers have an enticing aroma that can be smelled from far away. But once those flowers are picked from the tree, their alluring scent can turn rancid, and suddenly the once delightful fragrance can stink up an entire building. The elder tree has many variations in the species, and they can be found all over Europe, Asia, and North Africa. And even though they naturally occurred in the cooler temperatures found in the northern hemisphere, the surprisingly adaptable shrub has had no trouble spreading across the globe. The elder has an interesting characteristic, though. It is toxic when it's consumed raw, but perfectly edible when it's cooked. Just like the cashew nut, the diverse amount of phytochemicals found in the whole tree can cause diarrhea and vomiting, but once it is subjected to heat through the process of cooking, it kills off all of these phytochemicals and becomes completely safe to eat. Even though its deep medicinal and cultural history is mostly forgotten, elderberry jams and preserves are still a common seasonal treat in most European countries in our present day. The Celtic people of the British Isles made musical instruments from the wood of the elder. The wood is not at all suitable for heavier carpentry, but it is very appropriate for carving and shaping smaller objects. They believed playing flutes and whistles made from it would attract fairies, especially if you were close to an elder on a midsummer evening. And if you were especially lucky, you'd see the king and queen stop by, because they used elder trees as resting points during their travels. That was why you should never fall asleep under an elder. You might interrupt the royal couple's travels, and the fae did not appreciate such inconveniences. They could use their magic to turn your quick nap into an eternal slumber that you'd never wake from. But besides the easily offended fairy folk, the elder was seen as a protection against evil spirits. The connection is an easy one to make since elder leaves are well known for keeping away flies and midges. Branches and clumps of leaves were tied to doorways and windows, on horses and animal stables. They were grown around places where the community would process food to keep the bothersome insects away. Scandinavians connected the elder tree with Hildemar, a tree spirit. The word Hilda is probably where the word elder derived from. But the ancient tree spirit did not take kindly to her wood being burned. Elder wood releases air when subjected to heat, and the burning wood expels steam so rapidly that it sounds like angry whistles and screams. It's no wonder that it was widely considered taboo to use elder for firewood. They also had a high market value because of the excellent wine that was made from the elderberry and its use to make dyes. Green, yellow, brown, and blue dye could be extracted from the fruit, flowers, leaves, and bark. And no color was more difficult to create at the time than blue. It is very rare for blue to occur naturally outside of bird feathers, so any source for it to be procured was highly valued. Royals chose blue to symbolize their wealth based entirely on how hard it was to propagate. That's where the term royal blue comes from. After all, only royals could afford it. By the time written accounts were made about the elder tree, it was already so ingrained in society and religion that the Christian Church immediately sought to discredit the elder by spreading negative rumors about the shrub. Here, the vital medicinal and cultural roots that the elder held amongst the people took a rather dark turn. Tales were spread of it being the very wood that was used to make the cross that Jesus died on, and that it was an elder tree's branch that Judas Iscariot used to tie the rope to that ended his life. Neither of these is likely to be true, since hollow elder wood is not at all suitable to support the weight of a fully grown man, and it is much too brittle and aerated to use in any sort of carpentry. Iron nails would split the wood if they were driven into it. But the screams that emanate from the burning branches fueled the belief that it was the sound of the devil spitting at you. No one dared burn the elder in or around their homes for fear of inviting the devil inside. But paradoxically, they were planted as hedges around homes to keep evil out. Human creativity definitely found a way around the wicked associations to keep the medically necessary plant as close as they possibly could. The elder was just too necessary for treating illnesses and too widespread in nature to completely shut out of daily life. Elder flowers and berries were mainly used during cold and flu season to boost the immune system. This is not surprising since they are packed with antioxidants and vitamins, especially vitamin C and B6. Autumn brings colder weather and a wave of sniffles and coughs, so the timing for the elder to set its fruit is the perfect excuse for you to add some extra immune-boosting nutrients in the form of a seasonal treat. Per pound, elderberries have twice as much vitamin C as oranges do, and 3 times as much as blueberries. Almost any edible cold climate berry can be simmered down into a syrup and used to treat sore throats and ease the harsh strain of coughing. The elder is no different, but it also gives you a little extra help to loosen phlegm and open up nasal passages. Their anti-inflammatory properties can soothe swelling in the lymph nodes, mouth ulcers, throat, nose, and digestive tract. The digestive system can further benefit from the elderberry to lessen uric acidity, relieve urinary tract infections, and soothe the irritation associated with yeast infections. On top of all that, elderberries and flowers also protect the heart by lowering cholesterol and blood sugar levels. Teas made from the berries are said to be calming. There could very well be some truth to this, since vitamin B6 has been linked to lowering depression and anxiety. Medical experts in Australia conducted studies in 2011 and 2012 with the support of the World Health Organization and Melbourne and Westmead Institute for Medical Research. They concluded that there was indeed substance to the ancient use of elder to treat respiratory, cardiac, and inflammatory conditions. They conclusively found that the compounds in elderberry extracts combated strains of influenza directly. Not only did it fight the infection head-on, but it also reduced inflammation in the nasal and respiratory passages drastically. And in 2018, another study looked at elderberry. Again, their findings were so promising to treat respiratory infections that they proposed elderberry extracts as a direct treatment instead of antibiotics. But sadly, even with these amazing results under laboratory conditions, neither study was ever explored any further, but we certainly got enough from it to know that the science can at least prove that our ancestors were onto something. On the skincare front, elder's astringent qualities tighten and reduce the size of pores, giving the skin a softer and smoother appearance. The bioflavonoids found in the flowers combat aging and UV damage to the skin too. And finally, elder leaves, berries, and flowers were used to treat constipation and bloating, but they were ingested in their raw form. Those phytochemicals we talked about earlier are the reason that this worked so well. Though elder has some of these phytochemicals, they don't contain very much of it, just enough to cause upset stomachs and nausea. It is not advised to eat any part of the plant raw, or it will act like a powerful laxative. But rest assured that once it's heated, all of these phytochemicals will be destroyed. Though the bark and leaves can be used, you'll find the best concentration of nutrients and benefits from the berries and flowers. Teas can be steeped just with elderberries and flowers on their own, and they pair well with other herbage just fine. Astragalus, rosehip, ginger, mint. Your options are endless. The berry is quite tangy and can even be a little bitter. There isn't much sweetness to them, so a little bit of honey will turn a rather dull berry tea into a suddenly lively drink that just opens up your breathing and sinuses. Syrups are a great way to soothe sore throats, and they are pretty simple to make. However many berries and flowers you have, boil them down with half that weight in sugar or honey until you reach a syrupy consistency. Let it cool down and have a teaspoon at a time, just as you would use cough syrup. You can also make jams and preserves with the berries. Adding a handful of flowers to the mix can't go amiss, and the process is no different from any other fruit jams and jellies. Repellents can be made from their leaves by simply pouring boiling water over them and letting it stand until it's cooled off. Add that soaked water to a spray bottle and spritz it on clothes, windowsills, doors, and curtains to keep any winged insects away. But you might want to add a stronger scented flower to that mixture like lavender or rose oil. Elder leaves are a fantastic insect repellent, but they sure can be a little stinky. You won't have any trouble finding elder trees while on a walk in the park or even right in your neighborhood. With the exception of Scotland, where they are rare, they can be found all over the Northern Hemisphere. As always when you're foraging, make absolutely sure that you've identified the right plant before taking it home. And if you'd rather have one in your garden, well, they aren't hard to care for at all. Elders like nitrogen-rich soil. They usually grow at the bottom of hills where nutrient runoff collects, or even around landfills that have collected high concentrations of minerals in the soils from years of food waste seeping into the ground. But that's really all that elders want, nitrogen. They don't care if the soil is sandy, loamy, or rocky. As long as it's nutrient-dense, they'll adapt to the conditions they are put in. So keep some compost at hand to keep your tree well fed. For optimal health, however, keep them in full sun with plenty of water and a good helping of compost every season. The versatility of elder is amazing, and if we had our way, much more resources would be put into proving the incredible value that it can have on the medical front. But in the meantime, we're happy to trust that our forefathers knew what they were doing. Have you ever used the revered elder tree? Or are you thinking about adding it to your herbal pharmacy? We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences, so be sure to leave a comment below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new herbal explorations. Tune in next time as we continue our journey through the fascinating world of medicinal herbs. Until then, stay curious and embrace the power of nature's pharmacy. Disclaimer: I am not a medical doctor. If you are on chronic medication, pregnant, or suffering from any health condition, please consult a medical professional. I am here to relay my own thoughts and opinions. My videos are entirely based on my own research and experiences.